तफसील में बताऊँ तो मैं उस वक्त मैंने स्क्रिप्ट पढ़ी थी और एक ऑडिशन टेप भेजा था गुरिंदर को हिंदुस्तान से। सहर लतीफ़ कास्टिंग डायरेक्टर हैं, उनने मुझे कॉल किया, बोला फिल्म बन रही है, मेरे घर आई, हमने एक ऑडिशन टेप रिकॉर्ड किया जहाँ मैं कुछ दुपट्टा वपट्टा सुखा रही हूँ, एंड आई सेंड टू गुरिंदर एंड आई थिंक गुरिंदर really liked it and उस तब coincidentally मैं उसके कुछ टाइम बाद I was in England when I got a call saying Gurinder wants to test you with Manish Dayal, the actor who's in the film with me opposite me, who's a wonderful actor. But so I said मैं तो मगर हिंदुस्तान में हूँ ही नहीं हूँ, मैं तो इंग्लैंड में हूँ. तो then she got us in touch and then I went to see her musical and then we did like a reading together with Manish, another actor from the film Jazz and I, which I think went well.
Very well.
And then she called me one day, I was sleeping and she called and saying, okay, I want you to be my Alia. And I think I screamed for 5 minutes and she's like, she laughed. She said, okay, maybe it's the wrong decision. But no.
But also, she has a period face, period features. You know, in the film she has a 40s hairstyle and wears those big salwars and kuli kameez, and so she really suits the period look. That's important to say.
And it's a lovely script, like I said, it's each character is so beautifully written. हिस्ट्री को बहुत ही अलग तरीके से लिखा गया. हम भी जब हिंदुस्तान में पार्टीशन के ऊपर फिल्म बनाते हैं तो बहुत अलग तरीके से बनाते हैं. इनका नज़रिया बनाने का बहुत अलग है. ऑफ कोर्स एक जो सीक्रेट डॉक्यूमेंट्स की बात कर रही हैं वो तो है ही, मतलब दैट्स द बेसिक क्रक्स ऑफ द फिल्म. बट उसके अलावा पार्टीशन को एक पीपल्स प्रॉब्लम बताया गया है. बहुत आसान होता है कि आप फिंगर पॉइंट करो और किसी को ब्लेम करो, but to really think that it's a collective problem and how that an issue like this affects common people, I think वो कहीं ना कहीं निकल के आ रहा था, which I sort of, as a person also, I sort of resonate with that whatever could be your ulterior motive, it could be geopolitical, it could be anything, but to divide people, and to cause unrest or bloodshed is just not right. So I just love that, and I knew when I read the film that I would love to be a part of a film like this. About Alia, well, Alia is a Muslim interpreter to the Mountbattens. Have come. She's educated. She's Muslim, which is very unusual for a girl for that period. Very strong. Her problem is sort of the problem that India had, or a lot of Muslims in India had that point in time, whether to stay or to leave. And she's in love with this boy who's Hindu, and she has a blind father to take care of. And the father's found this lovely young Muslim boy for her, played by the lovely dashing Arunodaya Singh, who's a great guy, but she's just not in love with him, and she has to make that choice whether to stay or to leave.
But we also made it that Alia and Jeet, one was from Amritsar, one was from Lahore, so they never knew which country they were going to end up in until the last minute. So that was
which is the problem of all Indians, no? You could be in Lahore, but you could be a Hindu, and then you didn't know which side you want to be on because Lahore was still your city, and so it was just that conflict that people had at a point in time, who you really are, that question of identity. When something like this is thrown in your face, I guess people just respond.
When we were making the film, when we were shooting the refugee scenes, we had many extras who had come, because actually in Jodhpur we're not too far from the border, right? So we had a lot of people who were coming as extras, and there are scenes with Mountbatten in the camp where there are real refugees, and he's talking to them just while the camera's on, and they start telling him about their real experiences, what happened to them, how they escaped with their lives because their Muslim neighbors put burqas on them, got them on the railway, got them across the border. And so all this started happening for real on the film, but also when we were shooting those refugee scenes, it was terribly upsetting because we had 1,000 extras, and every day we were dressing them to look like period, 1947 refugees. But on our phones, we were seeing the news, which was the main news at that time was the little Syrian boy who was found washed up on the beach as his family were trying to escape Syria. So we were looking at refugees on our phone on the news, and we were shooting period refugees here, and it really made the film feel very urgent. And I think that I was going to say something else. I forgot now. There's a lady here.
Hi. Hi, Huma. So basically my question is, this is more like a Indo-British film, you have started doing that. So can we expect you to also join, the Hollywood League and, sign some movies out there?
Well, I've never chased Hollywood or a particular industry. I think wherever I chase creativity, I chase good scripts. I'm doing a Tamil film as we speak right now. So for me, language is not really the concern. I mean, I don't choose scripts based on what language or what territory is going to release in. I think, you know, if Gurinder had made this film in Punjabi, I would still love to be a part of it. So yeah, if there's a good script, no matter which part of the world it is in, I would be up for it, most definitely.
Just
Hi.
one. Just one added thing. You are also a part of, doing the Rajnikant film. If you could just tell us what's your role and how.
I think let's keep it to Partition 1947. We'll do another press conference for that.
Gurinder, I have a question for you.
Just this lady here, then you. Well, I think all filmmaking is a risk. You know, anyone who's trying to say something different, it's always a risk as a filmmaker, but you have to follow your heart and you have to say what you think. You know, that's what artists do. I want to tell you that my editor in England, Valeria, he was Italian. And when we were cutting the film, you know, every cut, you know, when we screened it for the producers, he would always cry at the end, you know, as an Italian. He was very emotional. And he would always cry. And whenever I wanted to keep something in that I knew would be more appealing to the Indian side of me, he was my biggest defender against people who would say, oh, no, it's too emotional, it's too emotional. And I said, no, I want this sequence, I want to do this one. So Valeria was there with me throughout that. But then, when we were halfway through editing, Brexit happened. And suddenly, he became a refugee because he didn't know if he was going to stay in England, or he had English wife, 2 children. He didn't know if he had to stay or go to Italy. At the same time, we saw a rise in hate crime. You know, suddenly immigrants were being blamed for problems, you know, because of the rise of the right. You had the rise of the right in Le Pen, in France, in Germany, you know. It was a very tricky time when we were editing the film. So I think that this rise of the right, wherever you are, you know, ultimately, you know, one has to stand up for what is right. Now, this is a nation that is built on the philosophies of Gandhiji, you know, and when I watched the film back, the first time I watched the finished film back, I sat in the cinema, in the screening room, and I turned to Paul, my husband, and I said, you know what, there's 2 people from the past who I think would really appreciate the film. And one is Gandhiji, you know, it's his philosophy, the film. And the second one is Guru Nanak Dev Ji, you know, who says, before you see yourself as a Hindu or a Sikh or a Muslim, see yourself as a human. So for me, that wherever I went, these 2, Gandhiji and Guru Nanak Dev Ji, are with me. They're on either side of me. And I think that is the reason why I was able to make the film, because I kept going back to them.
Hi, Gurinder, I have a question for you. Just wanted to know, ma'am, how different is the Hindi cut from the film's original British release?
Same, exactly the same. Exactly the same.
This is asking you, so considering, you know, there's some amount of criticism as far as the Viceroy House is concerned. Some said that it totally disregards the freedom struggle in India. Some said that it was anti-Muslim. And there's some amount of brickbats. Now that it's releasing for the Indian audience, what sort of response do you want from this film?
Well, I think that, you cannot make a film like this without upsetting people. I mean, because everybody has their own version of history, you know. As the film says, it opens with history as written by the victors. You know, this film would be very different if it was made by a Pakistani in Pakistan, an Indian from India, or a white British person in Britain. But it's the unique combination of who I am that has made it my vision. So people who will have something to say, it's because they want their own version of history. You know, they want to see things their way, and that's perfectly valid. You know, I am really not worried about people wanting to see more of this or more of that or more of this side, more of Jinnah or more of Neruji or more of this. I'm happy with that, because the thing is, this is everybody's story, and everybody has to tell their own stories. And this is not going to be the last film on Partition. There'll be many more. But this is my version, and this is how I see the world, and this is my record of how I see the events that defined me, my family, my community, and my nations, all my nations, at that time in 1947. So I absolutely appreciate some people having their own comments, and they're 100% right, because it's an emotive subject. I think for Pakistan, it's going to be a very emotional subject. In England, what has been very interesting for me is to see the way British Pakistanis have seen the film, compared to a few Pakistanis from Pakistan, because there was a Muslim writer in Britain who said that anybody attacking this film, yes, it was Fatima Bhutto, after her article came out, which was very much from a privileged Pakistani perspective, because for her, I think it's very hard to appreciate that her film, that her country was born out of such pain, basically. It's hard for people to understand that and appreciate that, because people want to rewrite history. But I appreciate her anger. I appreciate, her position. It's hard for young countries to find their place in a global world, But for me, I think that in Britain, what was great was a lot of British Pakistanis saw the film, came up to me, were very emotional, and said, we didn't know our history. We didn't know any of this, and thank you for telling us it. And so I think this is why sometimes it might be hard for people to understand, but being a British Asian, I have close friends who are British Pakistani as well as Indian, as well as white, and we have a different cultural experience than, say, Indians and Pakistanis here on the subject. So I think I've been able to stand back, and look at it in a different way, not necessarily the right way or the wrong way, but in a different way, and hopefully shine a light on what it means for me and my ancestors, and why my grandmother suffered, as I said, and why I lost my Puaji, who would have been 72 today, had she not died during that time.
Are there any scenes or particular dialogues which have been omitted to ensure that you don't get that sort of response once it releases in India?
No, because what I tried to do was make a film that was very fair for everybody. As I was cutting the film, I wanted to make sure that I was not going to offend, people who were liberal-minded and were understanding of where I was coming from. In many ways, this is not a film for people who think from extreme sides, It's how I think. It's my view of the world. It's who I am, and therefore it's a personal film on what I see as the future, And for me, the future, okay, we have Partition. Partition is there. There is another country called Pakistan. My homeland is there. My grandfather, my great-grandfather's house, everything is there. But for me, I value the music, I value Punjabi music, I value Punjabi language, I value Punjabi culture, fashions, all this. And to me, that's a unifying force. That's a positive thing of what I value about my ancestral sort of culture and legacy. If I can't go back to that village, I can appreciate the music and the poetry from that joint heritage.
Huma, here, Justin.
Yeah, we'll just take
Huma,
one
there was a shot in the trailer where one character comes to the other and says, "Aap hamare logo ke saath raha kijiye." Now this is of course pre-independent India, and we can imagine that sort of dialogue happening. But 7 decades later, here we still have this you versus me divide, where people are judged upon what their ideologies are and which meat they eat. How sad do you think the state is?
Sad, that we haven't really learned. I mean, it's really sad. It's baffling. I think people who talk like that need medical help. This is what my personal opinion is, because I don't think any god or any religion or any country or the idea of nationhood should divide. It should unify. And like what Gurinder said, you should look at the unifying forces like music and poetry and dance and culture and food. You know, I've grown up in a more secular way. I was raised a Muslim, but I've played Krishna at every Janmashtami, you know, in our school and our colony skits and everything. We never कंजक पे हम लोग जाते थे, तो पाँव को धोते हैं, पूजा करते हैं, दिवाली मनाते हो, आप होली मनाते हो, ईद भी उतने मज़े से मनाते हो. So I think आप जब when you can be together and have the best of all the worlds, why would you choose to take such an extreme point of view and miss out on all these beautiful experiences, all these lovely friends? Why would you choose to do that? So I think people who take such an extreme point of view in life have either ulterior motives or just need medical help.
Also, quick question to Mr. Sarkar. Are we looking at a Pakistan release? I mean, is it going to come out officially there?
So, it has been sent to censor. If the censor clears it, definitely will have a Pakistan release. Incidentally, it is having a Bangladesh release. It will be, because that's partition history was as much relevant on the western side as it was on the eastern side of the country. So Bangladesh, it is already cleared. Bangladesh, it will have a release probably on the same date. Pakistan, we are waiting for the censor. If the censor clears, it will have a release.
हुमा नॉर्मली यहाँ सामने आपके राइट में जी हुमा नॉर्मली आप बहुत काम रहती हैं और नॉर्मली आप कुछ बोलती नहीं है मीडिया को, लेकिन हाल ही में ईद पार्टी के टाइम पर आपका कुछ पेपराजी जो नीचे शूट कर रहे थे
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं हुआ था.
ऐसी न्यूज़ आई थी, तो क्या
I have no idea, ma'am.
Can I introduce the rest of the cast,
Please do that. Yeah, I was
Yes,
about to do
I'd
that.
like to introduce on stage Denzel Smith,
Who's playing Muhammad Ali Jinnah?
Muhammad Ali Jinnah.
तो इनकी शक्ल ध्यान से देख लीजिए.
Arunaday Singh, who plays
Asif.
Asif Ali Beg plays our wonderful sous chef.
Yeah.
This is
Over to
part
you.
of the wonderful cast, very small faction, of course, and they're very, very talented, lovely.